to What Up Baltimore. My name is Dr. Lady J. I am so happy to be back with you tonight. Guys, first of all, thank you so much for coming to the political forum last week. It was absolutely amazing. So, for those of you who missed it, for the past 3 years, I've been doing the What Up Baltimore show, and we come on here. Sometimes we have people on talking with the candidates, sometimes it's just the candidates. So this year I had the bright idea to do a What Up Baltimore live, and it went really well. We had the politicians out from across the state of Maryland. We were at the Downtown Cultural Arts Center. It was amazing. So we're going to do two more this year. We're going to do one in August and another one in October. So if you're a candidate and you would like to be a part of the political forum, the number on the screen, 443-297-4753, is the number that you can call to reach me. We're going to have the RSVP up again where you're able to go in there, give us your information, and then we'll hook you up so you can be a part of it. But tonight we have a special guest. We have Mr. Michael Peruka. Am I saying your name right, the last name? Okay. Michael Peruka is our guest for tonight. I'm sorry, your mic was muted. So he's here tonight. Welcome to What Up Baltimore. This is your first time with us. Yes. Thank you for coming on. And he is running for Maryland Attorney General. So listen, Mr. Peruka, last week, first of all, your Mackie was actually trying to get you on the forum, but you already had something scheduled by the time we spoke. But hopefully you'll be able to get, come to the other one and you'll be able to join us. But we had a really great time. But thank you for being on the show.
Well, thank you very much for your hospitality, Dr. Lady J. I appreciate it. I'm sorry I missed that last one, but I'll try to make the next one.
Definitely. Mackie and I are going to keep in touch. We're going to make sure that you get to one of them because we got two more coming up. And wanted to welcome you to the show because to me, this year, it seems like it's going to be a really, really hot race because I'm meeting so many people that are running for office and they're very exciting, just talking to them and hearing about what they're doing. So I know you're an attorney also, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I wanted you to just tell us a little bit about yourself. And also on this show, I really like to educate people on, the voting process, also the offices, the different positions. And if you could just tell us a little bit about what the Maryland Attorney General office entails, I will turn it over to you.
Sure. Thank you very much again for your hospitality and for your invitation. I appreciate being here, the opportunity to talk to you and to your guests. Dr. Lady J, I am, as you mentioned, I'm an attorney. I was in private practice actually with my brother as my law partner for about 30 years, and most of that was in Anne Arundel County in the Annapolis area. Okay. And about 25 years ago, though, I got involved and helped to found an organization called the Institute on the Constitution. And the Institute on the Constitution is an educational outreach that actually tries to reconnect us with the constitutional principles and actually the biblical principles that underlie the foundation of our form of government. In other words, we want to think about government like our founders did, and come at it from the same way that they did. And you mentioned that this is going to be like a hot race or a hot time, and I think you're right, because never before, I think, are the differences going to be as clear as they are now. The differences are going to be very clear. For example, I mentioned I would come at government. My political philosophy would be in line with the founders. That is to say, that they said in the Declaration of Independence, they said there's a creator God. They said our rights come from that God, and the purpose of government is to protect and defend those God-given rights. It's not to make sure you're wearing your helmet or make sure you're wearing your seatbelt or make sure you're eating your veggies. The purpose of civil government, by the way, is really not, and this is an important point, it's not to protect your health. It's to protect your liberty so that you can protect your health. Those things are up to us and our families and individual self-government. So the differences, I think, between myself, for example, and other candidates are going to be very, very stark, because many of the other candidates have an idea that government needs to be a nanny, needs to be in charge of everything, needs to be overbearing, needs to take wealth from one person and give it to another. The redistribution of wealth is not an American idea. It's really a socialist idea. So as you said, kind of a hot race. These differences, I think, are going to be stark.
Yeah.
I think what really kicked me off the couch, Dr. LadyJ, to kind of get in this race and do this was for the last couple of years. Well, for many years now, we've been abandoning and getting away from an idea that God is the sovereign and that our rights come from Him. But lately, in the last 2 years, we've seen horrible abuses of our rights to worship, our rights to gather, our rights to assemble, our rights to even speak. There's so much censorship going on. Our rights to travel. All these lockdowns and these mandates and these edicts and whatever you want to call them, these orders, these proclamations, all of these things were unlawful. They violated the Maryland Constitution. Now, many people are not familiar. I'm actually going to. This is a little Constitution booklet of the Maryland Constitution. Many people have a Constitution they carry around of the U.S. Constitution, but we have a Maryland Constitution, and we have what's called the Declaration of Rights in Maryland. It's kind of the state equivalent of the U.S. Bill of Rights. And in the Declaration of Rights, it actually says in Article 44, and I'm going to quote it here. It says that the provisions of the Constitution of the United States, in other words, our right to speak, our right to worship, our right to travel, our right to assemble. It says the provisions of the Constitution of the United States and of this state, being Maryland, apply as well in times of war as in times of peace, and no deviation therefrom or violation thereof based on a plea of necessity, like a pandemic, or any other plea is valid. In other words, it couldn't be more on point as to what's been going on these last 2 years. And in other words, there's no COVID-19 exception to the Bill of Rights or to your rights. I think the last couple of years tried to get you to think, and the media did this, and the governor did this, and many politicians did this, health department officials did this. They tried to say, well, don't you see we have an emergency going on? So this Constitution, we have to set that aside for now.
Right.
But that couldn't be more wrong. You never set this aside. And so I think really insidiously they traded on the goodwill of the people, because they said, well, we just need to do this for a couple of weeks till things pass. But that's I don't think anybody believes that anymore, because the lockdowns and they're not done with us either, Lady J. They're not. They're coming back.
Telling people that, they're coming back. They've given us a little reprieve right now, but they're coming back. It's coming back.
They are, and that's why that's the primary reason that they say, what kicked you off the couch, right? Well, what kicked me off the couch was what they have been doing, and the fact that we don't have recall in Maryland. In other words, our Constitution doesn't give us the right to recall a governor or an official. But we have impeachment, and that means that we have to rely on the House of Delegates. Members of the House of Delegates are required to bring impeachment actions when these kind of things happen. And in my view, Lady J, every member of the House of Delegates had a duty to bring impeachment, because these violations were notorious. They were obnoxious. They were horrible, and they were mean and nasty. And they didn't care. They took your businesses. They shut down. Yet Walmart was open, but your family business couldn't be open, or you couldn't go to church. They're trying to tell you. Every member of the House of Delegates, I believe, had an obligation to bring, and only one of them did. And he took a lot of heat for it, and he took a lot of mocking, and his name was Dan Cox.
Yes.
And that's why I admire him, because he's the one that stood up and did his duty and answered the call. So I have a lot of respect for him. The other point that I wanted to make is that this document, there's 2 law schools in Maryland. I went to one of them about 150 years ago or so, and I went to University of Baltimore. But there's University of Baltimore and University of Maryland schools of law, and everybody who graduates from there, assuming they pass the bar and they're going to practice law, they all take an oath to this document. But did you know? You might not know that neither of those law schools have a course of study on this document.
Wow.
People, so and would you think that that's an oversight? I don't think so. I think that's part of an agenda to make us forget about these rights and how to articulate them and how to defend them.
Mm-hmm.
Because when people had their businesses closed during this last 2 years, and the terrible atrocities that ruined our healthcare system and ruined our economy, et cetera,
Mm-hmm.
people might have gone to their attorney, but their attorney didn't know what to do under the Maryland Constitution because they never really studied it.
Right.
So this is a big problem. We're not going to solve it tonight, but this is a big problem. And I really am running for attorney general because we need an attorney general who knows the rules and will follow the rules and defend. I want to be the attorney for moms and dads who have been shut out by the school system and shut out, and their children being taught things that against their will and without their knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And the attorney general can do something about that. The attorney general can investigate school boards and make sure that what they're doing is in the interest of the parents and not being maybe paid off with inducements to do something different. So there's a lot of things the attorney general, I think, can do to help. And I want to be the people's attorney in that regard.
Now, Joyce Butler had a question. She wants to know, who would you be replacing?
Brian Frosh is the current attorney general, and he is actually running for governor, I believe, on the Democratic side. Brian, let me make this distinction. A lot of people are confused between the state's attorney and the attorney general. The state's attorney is it's kind of an odd way to name that office because the state's attorneys are really county attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
They really, state, you have a state's attorney in every county, but you only have one attorney general that covers the whole state. So the position I'm running for is a statewide office, not a county office. I'm
sorry to cut you off. Keep talking. We have a caller calling in. I'm just going to get their information, but you keep telling us about that, and I'll be right back.
Okay, sure.
All right.
So the attorney, the Constitution of Maryland gives the attorney general basically four jobs. Excuse me. He's supposed to help and assist state's attorneys in the various counties with their prosecutions. He's supposed to represent the state of Maryland in the appellate courts, whether they be state appellate courts or federal appellate courts or the United States Supreme Court. So he's the attorney for the state. He's also the attorney for the people in the sense that he can bring investigations and impanel grand juries to investigate crimes under the Constitution or under the laws of the state. And then lastly, the attorney general is required to give written opinions of legal opinions when he's asked by either the governor or by members of the House of Delegates or the members of the General Assembly, I should say. So those are the functions. Now, the current attorney general, I don't want to spend a lot of time criticizing him because I just hope to replace him, but he's not running again. But the current attorney general has spent a great deal of time going after Donald Trump, bringing actions that actually I think are more political in nature and not really within the scope of the attorney general's jurisdiction under our Constitution. So I would stop doing that. The attorney general's office right now has I'm amazed by this number, has more than 460 attorneys in that office, and doing in many cases many political type things rather than actually legal type things representing the people. And I would seek to stop that. And I think every time you bring in another layer or level of government, you actually reduce people's liberties. So I really believe in the liberty of the people. And I believe that government shouldn't do what government doesn't have an authority to do. We never do well. Whatever you try to do something you don't have the authority to do, it never turns out well. And that's, I think, the situation in Maryland today.
Okay. Now, I have someone who wanted to ask a question, but they don't want to come on the phone or on camera. So I'm going to ask the question for you. And then I'm going to get to everybody else's questions. But this person has concerns, lives in Baltimore City, and is very concerned about the crime in the city and wants to know what you will be able to do to actually work hand in hand with the city, or what is it that you can do to help with the crime?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that question. Yes, there are many crimes in the city now. I think that both I think the state's attorney for the Baltimore City state's attorney has come under a lot of fire for not prosecuting cases that she probably should be prosecuting, and there are policies in place that are turning criminals right back on the street. Violent crime on the street is a terrible, terrible problem. There's a number of things I think the attorney general can do, including not plea bargaining a lot of these cases and not just dismissing them. I mean, these cases need to be brought to trial because these perpetrators need to be punished, because that's the way you establish justice. The way you establish justice is you punish injustice, right? That's the way it works, and therefore you deter that behavior. But and so that's extremely important. I don't want to make light of that at all. But I also want to emphasize, as I was saying before, that um, we have had lawlessness not just on our streets. We have had lawlessness for the last 2 years from our own government,
Mhm,
acting unlawfully. So, look, I once had a pastor that said, "Lawlessness breeds lawlessness."
mhm,
If you have lawlessness at the top of government, of course you're going to have lawlessness on the street. It's going to trickle down. So we have to work on the violent crime problem, and yes, we have to work on the problem of crime from those who are actually under oath to protect us from crime
mhm.
instead of being the criminals.
Yeah, because I think that and this came up a lot at the forum last week, even though we had people from across Maryland who were running, the big concern was Baltimore.
Right.
Everybody's talking about Baltimore. And so I understood what the caller was asking about. And some people, it's so bad. Like this caller is afraid to come on. They don't want their
Right.
voice heard. They don't want their name on the screen. So
Sure.
it's pretty bad. It's pretty
Right.
bad.
Right. And when we get to the point where our own citizens are intimidated or frightened from actually doing the citizen's job, which is to come forth and call out and report and call out criminal activity so that it can be dealt with properly. Um, See, I think there's a larger agenda going on, Dr. Lady J, that I'm not sure we even have time to even go into here in a great detail, but there's an agenda coming down from levels of government, both state and federal, that really are anti-American. I mean, we have a World War III kind of situation on our hands where our own government is working against us.
Mhm,
I have been involved with Sheriff Richard Mack and working with border sheriffs down in the south part of Texas, and they're fighting cartels, they're fighting the illegals. It's compounded by the fact that they have to fight their own government because of
mhm,
the policies that are going on. So this has to stop. And again, it's a matter. The attorney general has always had the power to do these things, but what I think has been lacking is the political will to do it.
mhm.
Again, going back to your comment about it's going to be a hot time, there are people coming off the couch and coming out of the woodwork who good people who
Yeah.
are going, I just can't take this anymore. I can't watch my country or my city or my community or my family be attacked like this.
Mhm,
Um, and the schools are a part of it. The election process is a part of it. I think the attorney general on the issue of elections can do a great deal to try to guarantee free and open and fair elections. By again, the way that you establish justice is you punish injustice, because there have been reported anomalies in the Maryland 20. Sure, there's problems all over the country, but even
mhm,
in Maryland, there's I think it's the Maryland Voter Integrity Group, I think, under Robin Sachs, has
mhm.
done a great job in identifying anomalies in the various counties. They need to be investigated, not just swept under the rug. They need to be investigated, and if people have falsified either the process or the results, that's treason. That's
Mm,
treason. That's overthrowing our government. I mean, and if that's happened, and there are many people who are convinced that more than convinced that it has, But just from a fair point of view, it should be investigated completely and put to bed whether it happened or not. And if it's happened, then that's a serious crime that needs to be rectified.
Okay. Now, Joyce Butler said she wants to know if you support Donald Trump, and then she says he criticized Brian Frosh for speaking out against Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. Let me say this about Donald. Donald Trump is the first president in my lifetime, and I'm an old guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's the first president in my lifetime that actually had put America first. He acted, I believe, like the president of America, not the president of the world, which is not his title. Many presidents and their administrations, even ones that Republicans are very proud of, Ronald Reagan, et cetera. But Ronald Reagan had a lot of people on his cabinet that were from the Committee on Foreign Relations, et cetera. That they were globalists, internationalists. Their allegiance was not to America. So Donald Trump, I have to admire him for being someone who had an allegiance to America and America first, and under him. Even with the problems of the Federal Reserve, I mean, our economy was clicking and clicking and clicking. Not that it's all about economy, but economy is important, and it was doing very well. And I believe that it's crashed incredibly quickly, and our liberties have been taken away incredibly quickly under I believe false pretenses. So that's a long answer. I'm sorry, but yes, I appreciate the fact that Donald Trump cares about America first. So do I.
Okay, so I'm taking it that Joyce Butler disagrees with you and your comment and your opinion and feelings about Donald Trump. And James, I think let me go back to her comment. She said Donald Trump is a blatant racist. So I don't know if you want to answer that yet. And then we have James says, what type of attorney general are you running for?
Well, there's only one attorney general position in the state. As I said, the state's attorneys are various in the various counties, so it's just the one position. I with respect to the racist, I've been called. I've never said or done a racist thing in my life that I would challenge anybody to point out a racist thing. But yet I've been called a racist because at one time I belonged to this group or that group or whatever. And by association, matter of fact, some people say that I'm racist just because I'm white. I mean, some people go to that extreme. So I don't want to prosecute or defend Donald Trump. If she has evidence of his racism or he's a blatant racist, then speak it forth, and and the marketplace of ideas will take that. Will determine that. I would not call him that, but without evidence or perhaps the lady has evidence that she'd like to put forth, that's fine. But all I know is I've been called all kinds of names that are not true, and it's just easy to name call, I guess is my point. Let's talk about issues.
Right. And if you if you all who are watching on any of the social media sites or listening on the radio, please feel free to call in. I do have the number. The comments are coming so fast. I'm trying to keep up. And I will read your comments in just a minute. But if you would like to call in and speak to Mr. Peruka, he's running for Attorney General of Maryland. You can feel free to call in. The number is on the screen. It's 443-297-4753. You can feel free to call in, give your comment. Or if you would want to continue writing on the screen, you can. It's up to you. So I wanted to go back to Joyce was responding to your question, your comment, and she says the entire world has evidence, and she said January 6th. And then we have James Smith, who says, as Attorney General, what would you do different to change things?
Well, I would investigate. I would again. I think that one of the primary problems is the the lack of understanding of our rights and the ability of people to articulate them and defend them. And what I would do is I would use the office to try to educate people in what the deal is between the people and the government. See, they say we have government by consent of the governed, Dr. Lady J, and this document, the U.S. Constitution and the Maryland Constitution, really are the vehicles by which we express our consent. In other words, if the government acts within the bounds of this document, then one might say that it has our consent because it's following the deal, it's following the contract that we have, right? These are the powers we give to government. So, but if the government steps outside of the bounds of these and starts telling us what medicine we have to put in our arm, or what jab we have to take, or if the government starts to do those kind of things, or shuts down our businesses with no due process and no good reason, and just if the government does that, then it loses our consent. It doesn't have our consent, and therefore it loses its legitimacy. It loses its authority. So I believe that that's fundamentally important for people to understand and to grapple with. In other words, if the government has to stay within the lines, and if it doesn't, it's no better than another criminal. It's actually worse because it's a criminal with a whole lot of power and badges and guns, right? So those people who have misused the police power of the state to either close down businesses they shouldn't have closed down, or force people to do things that were against their will, or kept people from worshiping in their houses of worship, or kept people from being able to assemble lawfully. If they did that, then they need to be brought to justice. So what would I do different than the Attorney General's now? I would be doing that because he's not doing that.
And I actually agree with the fact that I feel like a lot of our rights are being taken right now.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know if people are paying attention, but they are. And the big thing for me was when they closed the churches. That was big for me, that the bars were still open. In Baltimore, the bars were still open on every
stores.
Yeah. But the churches were closed. James Smith said, how can he get that book?
If he'll give his information to you and you give it to me, I'll send it to him.
Okay.
It's actually printed. It's printed by a group called Institute on the Constitution. I mentioned earlier. I helped to form that group about 25 years ago. If you go online to either, you could type in Institute on the Constitution, or the website is called The American View, for the American View of Long Government, theamericanview.com, theamericanview.com, and you can find this and many other resources. But if the gentleman you just mentioned wants one, I'll send it to him, and okay. I'll send you a number of them if you'd like, and you can read them to folks if you'd like.
And I went off for a second because there was a person who had a question wanting to know how you feel about the abortion bans that are going on right now.
I believe that the number one duty of government is to protect innocent life. And so I am pro-life without exception, all 9 months, no exceptions. And I believe strongly that if the government doesn't protect life, then it's acting in a criminal manner. So interestingly, we want to protect innocent life. Probably the most dangerous place, if you think about it, probably one of the most dangerous places that you can be right now is in your mother's womb. Because you're not safe, but you should be, and I believe that people talk about. It's interesting, Dr. Lady J. I hear the term all the time about reproductive rights. Reproductive rights. To me, if you didn't know anything else, reproductive rights. Well, that means the right to reproduce. In other words, it's the right to have a baby, not the right to kill one. So I'm absolutely pro-life, and I would use the Attorney General's office in every way that I could to protect innocent life.
Okay, got it. And Sandy Jones says that government they do take rights away. That's for Sandy Jones. Now we have about This is really interesting. I have to get you back again because the time goes by
Oh,
so
I'm sorry.
fast.
I talk too much. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, 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 no. This is on this show. I normally be quiet, and as you can see, people chime in, and I let whoever the candidate is, I let you all talk. But we have about 3 minutes left. So, what would you like to share with everybody? Because we have the primary and all of this stuff coming up, the general election. We got stuff coming up, so we want to make sure that you have enough time to tell people what you would like for them to do if you need help with volunteers or whatever it is. Just
Well,
take those
thank you.
to share. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, Patriots for Perutka, Patriots for number four, Patriots for Perutka.com is our website. Please go there. Please share it with others. If you would like to help us, there's a number of ways you could. We need volunteers in a number of different ways. And the Miss Mackey that you mentioned before, Mackey Stafford, is the campaign coordinator. And if you use that through that website, if you just give us your information, you can of course we need donations. We need it because we need to get on TV. We need to get on radio. We need to get the message out all that we possibly can. So that's always an issue. But
Mhm.
even if you can't do that, there's you can tell people, you can get yard signs if you're willing to do that. I always tell people, get two signs: get one for your yard, get one for your car. When you
Right.
park your car, no matter where you park your car, put it up there on the dashboard,
Mhm.
right? So there's a number of ways that we could use help. Look, Maryland is called the Free State, and we need to make Maryland free again. And many people have suffered horribly. Their livelihoods, their lives have been lost because of the lawlessness that's coming from our own government, our own health departments. That's got to stop. And then it not only has to stop, it has to never happen again. You have
Mhm.
to make sure that it never happens again, Dr.
Mhm.
LadyJ. So again, patriotsforperuka.com, and I'm very grateful for the time that you've given me, and you just tell me when to come back, and I'll be back.
Okay, absolutely. And Sandy Jones is asking if she can also get a copy of that book as well.
Absolutely. You just give me those people's info, and if that's okay, if that's the way you want to do it,
Okay.
and we'll get it. We'll get them absolutely. And it's the Maryland Constitution is the and the Declaration of Rights is so important. You could again, it's not even taught in the law schools. They want you to forget this. They
Mm,
want you to not know this, but you shouldn't. You need to know it.
that's awesome because I didn't know about that either. So I got to get it for myself. But I
I'll send you a
appreciate.
stack of them.
Yes, yes, and I will make sure that they get out. And I definitely appreciate you coming on. I do have one question, and this has nothing to do with running or anything. I'm just always amazed. Like I'm looking at you, and I'm thinking, like you should be retiring, maybe kick back on a boat somewhere, sailing around, just enjoying your life. So you really want to go into politics because it's so much. Oh my goodness! Like I hope that I'm always hoping like when I get in my 70s, I just want to be like laying back on a boat somewhere, relaxing, just kind of kick back.
Well, obviously, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I do feel though that God has called me to do this, win or lose, whatever. God has called me to run this race, and so,
Mhm.
well, if you become convicted of that, you really don't have any other
That
choice.
is
That's
true.
what you have
That
to
is
do,
true.
right?
Yes, that is so true. And I
So,
definitely understand that. I'm a chaplain, so I definitely understand that. When you get that call. So it's not like you can say, well, you can say no, but you shouldn't. And
right.
eventually you're gonna have to come back to it anyway. So,
That's right.
but congratulations to you. I wish you all the best in
Thank
your
you.
run. And guys, listen, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody, for listening. Please go to Patriots for Peruka. Make sure you spell his name correctly. It's on the screen so you can help out. Again, they're looking for volunteers. Mackie is great. I love Mackie. She's great. So
Couldn't
um,
agree more.
yes. So make sure that you go check them out, everybody, because remember on this show we want to make sure that we stay informed because the only way you can vote and get that right candidate in is that you have to be informed. So you have to keep following up. So we'll have you back again I definitely hope to see you at our next political forum. Look forward to meeting you in person. And again, everybody, Patriots for Peruka. I want to thank you, Mr. Peruka, for coming on. What up, Baltimore? We appreciate it. We appreciate you coming on and all that you're bringing. This is going to be exciting. All that you're bringing to the race. Thank you so much. And everybody have a great night. Have a good night. Please tell Mackie that I said thank you for putting this together and bringing you on. I do appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see. Somebody else had a message for you. Give me 1 second. Somebody's messaging me. Oh, somebody else is saying they want a book too. Okay, we'll give you a book.
We're good. We're gonna hit that pitch.
So your book is pretty popular. Oh my goodness. All right, everybody. Take care. Have a great night. Have a good night. My name is Dr. LadyJ. This is What Up Baltimore. And thanks for joining us. Make sure you keep tuning in for the rest of the week. We have some really great shows coming up. Take care, Ms. Faruka. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Good night.